I believe that there are ways to support being the tip of the spear, if you will. Number 1, get copies, trust but verify. Number 2, time adjustments. Number 3, law of substitution. Number 4, again, someone has to be the tip of the spear.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome back. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. Thanks for joining me, folks. Today we're going to talk about multiple offers. It's something we hear a lot about this year specifically. I want to talk to you about how we might be able to handle that question, comments, thoughts, information about multiple offers. Does it make a difference in the way that we appraise? I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by Working RE Magazine. Working RE is helping you to stay informed about what's going on in the appraisal world. Isaac, David, the others over there at Working RE Magazine, great people to get to know, great magazine to follow, workingre.com. Datamaster USA is where you find out more about a great company that saves me about 45 minutes on every stinking report that I do. Datamasterusa.com, datamasterusa.com. Finally, we are sponsored by A La Mode. A La Mode is the software that you should be using. It's the software I'm using, and very glad I am. Check them out. Go to alamode.com. Again, it's ALAMODE.com. Well, folks, throughout my career, and I've been doing this about a quarter of a century now. Yeah, I know that sounds old, but it's true. About 24 years, going on 25 years now, doing this as an appraiser. Throughout those years, every once in a while, we will get information mostly from the realtor. Sometimes it comes from other sources, but most of the time it's the realtor. And they want to meet us at the property, and they usually have a stack of information. And by the way, we've done an episode on what you do with that stack of information. And no, it's not necessarily just throw it in the garbage. It's just information, right? We can analyze that. We can look at that. But in the end, we're the appraiser, we're the valuation professional, we're the ones that make the decision as to what to do with that information. But another piece of information that comes to us frequently, and especially this year, seems like, we're in a year is very similar, and I'm not making predictions here. I'm simply saying it's very ominous, very similar to the world that we lived in 2007. For those of you who have been doing this more than a few years, you remember 2007, first part of 2008. It felt very similar to where we're at today. Some increasing values, many of them skyrocketing. Some would question whether they're supportable. We've got low interest rates. We've got I wouldn't say but some loose lending laws out there that are allowing people to do a lot of things that may cause some concern, may cause some worry. That's another topic for another day. But today I want to talk about the fact that when you're in a market like this, multiple offers on a property, and of course we're not talking about refinances here. We're talking about if you're called on, if you accept an assignment to do an appraisal for a purchase. Quite often during this time of low interest rates, high volume being transferred, and let's face it, it's a seller's market. And during the seller's market, often you will have bidding wars. Often you will have, more than one party looking at a particular property. And I'm seeing over and over again these properties being listed at a certain amount, and they actually sell for higher than the listing. Now, I buy and sell stuff on Facebook. Okay, marketplace, and just, little things here and there. Maybe it's an ATV, a motorcycle, a tool, what have you. It's very uncommon in that situation to ask $10 for a hammer and sell it for $12. Typically, when you ask $10 for a hammer, most likely that gives the buyer a mindset that, okay, they're asking 10, but I can get it for 8. And most of the time they're right. When I look to sell a hammer, if I think it's worth 8, I'm going to ask 10 because it gives me some negotiation room. Historically, when the markets are stable, or even in a situation where it might be a buyer's market, typically, you will find situations that is the case. So you ask $300,000 for a house. It's not uncommon for that to sell for $290,000 and maybe throw $6,000 worth of commissions in there, right? Or concessions rather in there. That's very common in that type of market. Well, we're not in that market right now, folks. We're in a market, at least in my area, and I assume it's very similar throughout the country, at least in speaking to my fellow appraisers, that markets are going crazy. Most markets are going up, but some of them are going up dramatically. Now, not all, but many are. And in the areas that I cover, almost every single market, almost every single appraisal, not without exception, but almost every appraisal we are marking increasing on the market. And if we have anything older than say 90, maybe 180 days, then we're making an adjustment for time. And by the way, those time adjustments are well supported. In those types of markets, it's not uncommon, as many of you are experiencing right now, to have what we would call multiple offers on a property. And if you are like me, that information gets told to you and kind of hammered in. These agents, and bless their heart, we love you agents. We know that you're worried about closing deals. You're worried about those out-of-town appraisers, and you want to meet them at the property, and you want to give them all the information and make sure that they're highly aware. Here's that list of comps that you should be using. We get it. But the other thing that comes up frequently is, hey, just so you know, we've had 5 offers on this property. We got multiple offers. Okay, appraisers, let me ask you a question. You're at the property, the agent meets you there, points out all of the lovely things, ignores all of the things that we as appraisers see that may not be on the positive side. They give you a stack of quote-unquote comps that you must use in the appraisal, and then they add, oh, by the way, we have multiple offers on the property. Question on the table today, what do you do with that information? Do you ignore that information? Do you say, I don't really care, the comps are what the comps are? I understand it's an increasing market. However, I've got to use the sales that are out there. My friends, what do you do when you have information, or at least you're told information before verification, that there are multiple offers on the property? Well, when we get back from the break, I want to talk to you about 4 things that you should consider when it comes to multiple offers as an appraiser. I want to pause here and remind you of things that you should also consider about being an appraiser, and that is, where is this profession going? Well, folks, if you want to stay on top of what's going on in the appraisal profession, there is one-stop shop for you. It's called Working RE Magazine. You can get it in the digital version. 4 times a year it comes out in a magazine version. And by the way, the information in the magazine is often much different than what you will get in digital. So I would suggest not one or the other source, but both. Folks, if you want to make sure that you're in the know when it comes to what's going on in the appraisal world, I highly, highly recommend that you sign up for their free e-newsletter. WorkingRE.com is where you do that. It's WorkingRE.com. DataMaster, saving appraisers time. What does that mean? Well, you've heard me talk about the 3-leg stool. You've heard me talk about the fact that we should be delegating. Using the law of delegation, we should use procedures. And the 3rd leg of that stool is technology. Folks, using technology to help you to do stuff that you would have to do manually is going to bless your life. Trust me. DataMaster will bless your life. Trust me. DataMasterUSA.com is where you find them. DataMasterUSA.com. Finally, speaking of technology and saving you time, saving you energy, and using the best tools out there to do your job, a la mode is where it's at. alamode.com is where you can find out more. Folks, they have a plethora of information out there on what it is that they do. Videos, sales pages. There are more than one product. Most people just think that a la mode is a report writing software. Well, it is, and so much more. They have mobile. They have Titan Office. They have Titan Reports. They have the Vault. I mean, there's so many things out there. It would be impossible for me to dig into each and every one of them here on the short time that we have together. I highly recommend that you jump on the internet and you check out what is out there. If you're not aware, you need to be aware. Alamode.com is where it's at. It's ALAMODE.com. All right, brothers and sisters, welcome back. We're talking today about multiple offers, and specifically we're talking about you might be on an inspection. I know this happens frequently to me, especially in this year's market. It's crazy. Often seeing homes go for over asking price, and typically it's because there is a bidding war going on. If a home is worth X amount and the purchase price is worth X amount, it might sell for X plus. There might be a listing price of $300,000 on that house, and it's not unusual for it to go to $305,000, $310,000, $312,000. I see that over and over again because there's more than one party involved in the negotiations. Now, what do you do when an agent lets you know, informs you that there may be multiple offers on that home? Well, first of all, folks, I would not discount that information. Okay. Now, certainly I'm not one to take things at face value, just as I'm not willing to show up to an appointment, have an agent hand me a set of quote-unquote comps and tell me those are the comps that I need to use. Okay, great. That's information, and I make it clear to educate an agent in a very kind and professional way that thank you for this, we will take it under consideration, right? But ultimately, whether they are quote-unquote comps, and even furthermore, whether they're comps that should be used in the report is going to be ultimately up to me, the appraiser. But when it comes to multiple offers on a property, I would say, number one, go back to the old Reagan doctrine of trust, but verify. Folks, it's one thing, and I'm not saying anything about agents here. Okay, but they are salespeople. They are advocates for their party. By definition, they are an advocate for the individuals that they represent. They have a built-in bias. We, as appraisers, do not. As a consequence, again, I'm not going to tell you that they're fudging the information, but I would say if someone tells you that there are multiple offers on the property, I would not take that at face value. I would say trust them, okay? Assume they're telling you the truth, but verify. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get a copy of the purchase sale agreement on each and every one of those offers. There are other ways to verify without divulging confidentialities. But if you can, get copies of the information that would inform you that, yes, that is the case. Not necessarily what the offers were, but it's important to know that there are truly multiple offers on the property. So, number one, trust but verify. Number two, what do we do about time adjustments? Okay. Now, one of the problems that we run into with multiple offers is this. If we as appraisers work historically, and folks, we do, right? Value comes based on closed sales. Closed sales are history. By definition, they are closed. They are in the past. Even if it was yesterday, it's still a past closed sale. And keep in mind, if something closed and settled yesterday, it went under contract most likely 30, 60, 90 days previous to that. So truly, even the most recent sales, quote unquote sales that we are using, often have a sales date, if you will, or an emotional connection, meaning we have a contract that's 2, 3, sometimes 4, 5 months in the past. Now, if you are in a situation that many of my areas are currently, you're seeing time adjustments, okay? Have you considered time adjustments? Now, again, can you make an adjustment for multiple offers? Probably not. I pause there for a second because maybe it's an outside the box thing to think through, okay? Possibly there's some way to support that. It's not something I've ever done in the past. But as an alternative, if you know that there are multiple offers, is it possible that you can look at time adjustments? Are they necessary? Are they supportable? Is it something that you should be doing? I can tell you folks, and I shared with this with you before the break, that often in my reports we are doing some time adjustments, typically on past sales, okay? Especially the much older sales. I feel that those are supportable, and I find them in my reports quite frequently. So, number one, trust but verify. Number two, consider time adjustments. When it comes to multiple offers, that might be a trigger to say, okay, Dustin, there's multiple offers. Are we in an increasing market? If we are in an increasing market, are there time adjustments necessary? Number three, and before I answer number three, I want you to, well, actually, I'm going to jump to number four, okay? Number four is someone has to be the tip of the spear. What do I mean by that? This is a common phrase that I hear among appraisers that if we are talking historically and we are talking an increasing market, is it possible to value a property and not bracket the value on the high end? And I would say absolutely yes, that is possible. Is it fun? Are you going to deal with some underwriter kickbacks? Are you going to have to justify what you're doing? I would say yes, you will. Yes, it will be challenging. Yes, it will be difficult. But folks, we were never asked to do the easy job. I am of the belief that if you have multiple offers on a property, if you are in a time-sensitive market, meaning adjustments are going up, values are going up, it's increasing, as Fannie Mae puts it on their form, then there is very much a possibility that you're going to have 3 or 4 sales, all of them adjusting to the positive side. Well, Dustin, you can't do that. You got to have at least one on the top that adjusts down. Maybe, and you might be able to justify that by going outside a neighborhood, making an adjustment for differences between that market. There are various other things that you possibly could do to justify that, but are those truly comparable? Do they meet the same highest and best use of your subject? I have been in situations before, it's not frequent, thankfully, where all of my sales adjusted up, and there was really no way to avoid it. Now, avoiding it is one thing. Justifying it is another. And when I say justifying, again, the proper word here is supporting it. If I am going to have 3 or 4 sales, all on the quote unquote low end of value that are all adjusted up, again, if you're in an increasing market, if you're never the individual that puts a home on the high end, how does that market ever do what it naturally needs to do? Okay, that's what I mean by someone needs to be the tip of the spear. And that brings me to number 3. Yes, I'm going backward. And the reason I wanted to save number 3 for the last was because I wanted everyone to understand this idea that someone needs to be the tip of the spear, because that folds nicely into number 3, which is the law of substitution. Now, let's go back to Economics 101. What is the law of substitution? Basically, the law of substitution is you take 2 equal things. You're going to pay the least amount you can for the most you can get. That's the law of substitution. Now, why is it that we include listings in our reports? Well, my understanding is that the law of substitution is at play. If I've got 3 or 4 sales, let's go to number 4 again. I've got 3 or 4 sales, and let's say I'm going to be the tip of the spear. I'm going to adjust them all up. Okay, so the home is selling for $310,000, and I've got 3 sales that are anywhere from $300,000 to $308,000. And yes, even the $308,000 is adjusted up a couple of thousand, and the value, not sales price. Okay, the sales price is $310,000, but let's say the value, for whatever reason, I believe is supported at $312,000. Okay, I'm just throwing numbers out. $312,000 is $4,000 higher than $308,000. Therefore, I've got 4 sales, all adjusting up, and all justifying or supporting rather $312,000. Well, at that point, I might ask myself, is there another way to back into this? Is there another way to verify my information? And one of those ways, one of those techniques could be the law of substitution. The law of substitution will say, okay, in fact, let's make this very, very simple. Let's say you got congruent neighbor. In fact, let's just go so far as to say it's a condo project. And let's say that all of the units that you're adjusting are very cookie cutter. They're all on the same level. They're all same square footage, same bedroom, bath. Let's make this as simple as possible. They're, for all intents and purposes, identical. Okay, I use that term loosely, and that's why I say for all intents and purposes, but identical to the subject. Okay, no adjustments necessary. You're not adjusting for view. You're not adjusting for bedroom count. You're not adjusting for square footage. They're the same condition. They're the same quality. They're basically the same unit. And let's say you've got 3 sales, and let's go back to our previous information. Let's say they sold for $304,000, $306,000, and $308,000. Let's say the sales price for the subject is $310,000. Okay, so hopefully you're following. I know audio is hard to follow math, but we've got 3 sales that are at $304,000, $306,000, and $308,000, but the sales price for the subject is $310,000. Well, some appraisers would say, well, no, that unit is worth no more than $308,000. Why? Because I have an identical unit that sold 3 months ago for $308,000. Therefore, the subject is worth $308,000. Well, really? Let's say that there are multiple offers on the property, on the subject. And let's say that you are definitely in an increasing market. Well, let's talk through that. Number 1, trust but verify. Let's find out, are there truly more than one offer on the subject? Honestly, folks, number 1 is the least of my concerns, because I'm not going to quote unquote come in at a value simply because there were multiple offers on the property. Knowing that there are multiple offers is simply going to trigger me to go to number 2. Are there time adjustments necessary? Let's say in this case that there are. Well, then let's go to number 4. All of a sudden now I'm the tip of the spear. In other words, my value, let's say it comes in at $311, okay, is higher than any of the comps that have closed. Well, then we go to number 3, the law of substitution. Let's say that there are 2 other identical, for all intents and purposes, identical units, okay, same level, same square footage, same bedroom bath count, same condition, same quality, on down the line. And let's say that those are listed for $312,000 and $313,000, okay? Am I justified, knowing that there are multiple offers on the property, knowing that there's a time adjustment necessary, can I support being on the high end of that? In other words, all of my sales adjust up, but yet my law of substitution, the listings show 3, and I understand, folks, I know some of you are screaming at your podcast unit. I get it, okay? I know that listings, what you can list it for anything you want, right? But when you're talking multiple offers and you're talking various units that are basically identical that are listed for more, in other words, a typical buyer could not buy the unit for $308,000 anymore, okay? That time has passed. I believe that there are ways to support being the tip of the spear, if you will. Number 1, get copies, trust but verify. Number 2, time adjustments. Number 3, law of substitution. Number 4, again, someone has to be the tip of the spear. Now, folks, let me make it very clear in the end here. Just because a property has multiple offers does not justify the fact that it may be worth more than anything in the neighborhood. Okay, I want to make that very clear. You are the professional. You are the appraiser. But if you are aware that there are multiple offers, I see too often appraisers roll their eyes and go, yeah, agent met me out there, told me there were multiple offers, great. What am I supposed to do with that information? Folks, I would not discount that information immediately. I believe that there are things that you actually can do with that information. I also believe that there are things that you can do with great information on how to be a better business owner, and I highly recommend that you join us at the All-Star Team. Folks, right now it's free, absolutely free. Check it out. If you are curious about what we do in the All-Star Team and you're saying, I would like to be a part of a positive group of appraisers who help each other to make more money, to do better appraisals, to ask questions like this. This question actually came from our forum. Okay, so actively appraisers are talking about this kind of thing. I highly recommend that you join us at the All-Star Team. Go to my website, theappraisercoach.com, click on memberships. When you sign up, make sure you use the coupon code FREE30ALLSTAR. It's FREE30 All-Star, all one word, all caps. See you there.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.